Hey, hello everyone. So we shall get started with supply chain and we shall proceed further by doing a quick recap of whatever we have discussed yesterday. Even before I proceed further, can you please confirm on whether you are able to hear me or not? You might want to resort to the chat window, friends, and quickly let me know on whether you are able to hear me or not. I am unable to see anything on chat. Is it a mistake? Error? Yep. Nishant has sent a message. How about the other people? Are you able to hear me? Good, good. Good evening. Okay, so let us proceed further. And today the session might end a bit early because we have a few announcements also to make. So here we go, supply chain analytics. We discussed about supply chain 101, supply chain analytics and applications. We discussed about SER model, supply chain operations research model. Day 2 is today. We will discuss about how to design a robust supply chain network. What are the various supply chain measures of performance and transportation management in supply chain. We discussed about a lot of use cases, how digital supply chain is shaping and replacing the traditional supply chain. And all these are not futuristic things. These are a few things which the top-notch companies are anyways doing. Okay. And the other companies will anyways follow the trend, follow the pattern. Okay. If they are not doing it, that means they are trying to survive in the short run. They won't be able to scale their business. They won't be able to move ahead. There'll be a lot of challenges. Okay, next. So these are the various things. What are the strategic decisions? What are the tactical decisions? What are the operational decisions? Source, how do you source it? How do you make it? How do you deliver? If the goods are returned, how do you handle that? All of these things are extremely important. Then we understood about within sourcing, making, delivering, and returning the goods. What is the role of descriptive analytics? What is the role of predictive analytics? And what is the role of prescriptive analytics? And let's now get into newer discussions. As I've told you, a session might not last for 2 hours. It might last for only 1 hour or so. Post that, we will tell you on when the session will actually move on. Approximately 36 to 40 hours of training is what you'll experience, and that would be a paid version. We will let you know on that. Okay, so here, anticipatory package shipping and 3D manufacturing on demand. These two are wonderful things which are happening in the world that we live in. First of all, Amazon, which is having one of the amazing supply chain system in the industry now currently, has filed for patent. For what? Patent of what? Patent of the supply chain network. When did they do that? They have done this in 2013. Oh, wow. In 2013, look at how futuristic they are. And still today, there are a few companies, and if you talk to the senior leadership or the mid management, the myopic mid management, they would say that, do you know what, digital transformation, oh my god, that's a long story, it is not effective and things of that kind. I would say people of that kind might not be able to experience good growth, good success. They'll just confine themselves to their narrow mindset, because in 2013, it's 7 years now, even today, this is an amazing thing to discuss about: anticipatory package shipping. Traditionally, what happens? You place an order management kicks in. Then you pick the product, you package the product, you transport the product, logistics, and then you deliver the product. The amount of lead time would be right from the order placement until the order delivery. Huge lead time. What about Amazon's? They filed for patent, US patent basically. Method and system for anticipatory package shipping. Predictive analytics. They would not what there are a few startups who are doing amazingly well, and they are anticipating on what will be the discounts that you might provide. Wow. Yeah. So in this scenario, your packaging, well, usually a package contains one item or more items, right? Eventually you ship it to the delivery address. Now, selecting a destination, where are you going to ship, basically shipping the package to the destination without completely specifying the delivery address at the time of shipment is what this predictive analytics is doing. You can ship it when you know exactly, if the person places an order, gives the address, then you can ship. Sure, you can do that. But what if you were to ship it without knowing the address at the time of shipment? Okay. And what people started doing is, especially, not especially Amazon folks. Now, a lot of companies are doing this. While your product is going to the inventory, you'll have local inventories. So what they started doing is they started predicting on, okay, people in maybe Hyderabad are would majorly consume this item, would majorly purchase this item in these months. In the month of December, they would place an order for these kind of orders. So upfront you ship them and place them in the local inventory over there. Sometimes during the transit itself, when a customer places an order, that product is tracked and it is immediately shipped to the end user, because you're predicting that these are the kind of items which these audience in this region might purchase. So what happens ultimately is your lead time reduces significantly, and I'm not sure whether you're aware of this or not. Um, Amazon also delivers within 30 minutes for a few products. Let me show you that. Amazon wants to ship you anything in 30 minutes. Anything in 30 minutes. Wow. It is serviced by drones. But then by the time you have drones, around, it might take some time because it's like air traffic only. There are a lot of things that have to be streamlined. Okay, so until then, you need to rely on predictive analytics. If there is a product which is actually manufactured in Malaysia, in KL, and people in Hyderabad place an order for that, by the time the goods reach India, it would take a lot of time. Instead, can I upfront do this predictive analytics? Ship the products, push it to the inventory here in Hyderabad so that when a customer places an order, it is immediately delivered. Wow, what a field, right? And then Amazon also has filed another patent for 3D printing. You place an order, product is printed, 3D printed in a relatively smaller factory. And then the items which are 3D printed are then delivered. Just in time manufacturing can be effectively implemented the moment you have 3D printing. For this also they have filed patent. Wonderful. It's a 3D patent. And this they have filed in 2015. This in 2015, the one for predictive analytics in 2013. So if someone speaks about Industrial Revolution 4.0, then you should be aware of a major pillar in IR 4.0, which is called as additive manufacturing or 3D printing. Place an order, 3D print, and give it to them. That's it. Simple. There are a lot of success stories, friends, on how people try to streamline a lot of things. Um, in 1980s, there was a scenario wherein Japanese cars were in huge demand for the quality, and orders were skyrocketing in US. People started placing order of 5,000 cars, okay, 10,000 cars every month, something of that type, huge demand. And what people have done is from Japan, Osaka port to San Francisco. If you have such a huge cargo or these many vehicles to be transported, of course you cannot take the route of flying them. What would you do then? Ship. And here is where Japanese folks have come in extremely, innovative. What they have done is, any guesses, anyone? What they would have done? Any guesses, anyone? Any intelligent person out here? Even if it's a dumb answer, that's okay. Please go for it. What do you think they would have done? 5,000 cars month on month have to be transported. That means 5,000 cars have to be manufactured every month only for US alone. Set up plants in USA, okay, good, that's one thing, but that would be costly. Companies might not want to do that because they feel a risk of someone else copying your processes. Locally manufacture semi-assembled parts to US by ship. Do you know what they have done? Abhishek got it right. They've actually assembled it in the ship. Within the ship itself, they started assembling. They just took the raw material which were manufactured, that's it. And then they started manufacturing while this journey was on. Cool, right? And one more thing. You know what? Now we have COVID. Earlier we had SARS. So I believe no escaping from these kind of virus once in a while. When we don't know, humankind, for example, us, we have seen, probably we would have been very small back then, but then SARS impacted almost all the countries back then in 2003, right? And there were a lot of cases, and there were a lot of such pandemics which have happened. So contactless is a way to go. Don't contact. And contactless less means digital. When it comes to supply chain, once again, you need contactless journey. Okay. And while you do this, there are a lot of measures which exist, which one has to track. Of course, there are a lot of metrics that we are going to discuss as part of our um, training, which is going to start from, if I'm not mistaken, from 19th onwards. Okay, from 19th onwards, you'll have the training, same time. And it will go on for probably roughly a month. Okay. And at that point of time, we are going to discuss about a lot of additional measures, additional rather metrics. Okay. And those additional metrics includes metrics such as what is the return on assets? Okay, and so on and so forth. First, let us traverse through these, which I'm showing here, and then we shall discuss about the other metrics that we might have to discuss. Because for the other metrics that you're going to learn, supply chain driver metrics, you need to understand some amount of accounting. So quickly we will do an accounting 101, and then we'll discuss about various things such as return on equity. We'll discuss about return on assets. We'll discuss about APT, accounts payable turnover. What is the return on assets? Right? Then you look at inventory turnover, PPE turnover, so on and so forth. Right? So for us to understand all that, there is accounting 101 that is needed. Here are a few more measures that exist. Order management. The percentage of orders that are error-free. All these are part of your supply chain value stream. Cash to cash cycle time. That means the number of days between paying for materials and getting paid for product. You purchase an item, raw material. When is the end customer paying you for the product that you finish and manufacture and release in the market? That is cash to cash cycle time, very important. If this is a longer duration, and if you have taken money on loan, and then if you have procured raw materials, then you'll be in for trouble if you do not account for the interest amount that you need to pay to the bank. Yeah. Various aspects that you need to consider. Then you have customer order cycle management. How long it takes a to deliver a customer order after the purchase order is received. You receive a PO, how long does it take to deliver a customer order? Amazon says 30 minutes. Can you compete with them? If they enter into any of the countries, big time they're going to eat away the small players. So the small players should be digital ready. Digital supply chain is a way to go. Then you have fill rate. Okay, on time in full. How soon are you going to fill in the products in the market? Kind of replenishment. It could be raw products, raw materials. It could be the finished products. Supply chain cycle time. The time it would take to fill a customer order if inventory levels was zero. Dell believed in near zero inventory. They revolutionized the entire supply chain, wherein only after the order is released, then we are going to start the manufacturing, and then we are going to ship it to the customer. All these should happen in extremely short amount of time. Then you have inventory days of supply. The number of days it would take to run out of supply if it was not replenished, if it's not replaced. How many days can we survive? I placed an order for the raw material. How many days can my operations go on without impacting the revenue flow? Freight bill accuracy, the percentage of freight bills that are error free. While I'm doing all these things, while I'm explaining all these things, remember one thing, that for each of these metrics, you can have a prediction model in place. Predict on whether a freight bill is having defects, yes or no. Is it defective or not otherwise? Can I predict? Sure, you can. Can I predict the number of days it would take for me to run out of supply? Yes, you can. Freight cost per unit, usually measured as the cost of freight per item or SKU, stock stock keeping unit. And then you have inventory turnover, the number of times that a company's inventory cycles per year. Every year on year, or in the span of 1 year, how many times do you need to or how many times is it that your products that you're completing in terms of manufacturing or getting it from XYZ location, how many days does it stay in the inventory before it is out? Inventory turnover. Do you know what? Big companies, basically large manufacturing firms, in their inventory sometimes, this is astonishing for me as well, their components have been sitting within inventory for as long as 8 years. After 8 years, either this component will become obsolete. Maybe you would have revamped your entire manufacturing plant in a phased approach. By the time it's 8 years, that component or product that you have placed in your inventory might become useless. All this while, it has been occupying your real estate. It has been occupying space. If you were to look at what is the cost of 1 square feet rent, how many US dollars do you pay for that? Then calculate for 8 years. How much would that be? and the cost of that inventory component. If you would had, if you would have invested that money elsewhere in 8 years, how much would you have got? Opportunity cost. You lost it. Then you have days sales outstanding, a measure of how quickly revenue can be collected from customer. What is the speed at which revenue can be collected? Average payment period for production materials, average time for receipt of materials and payment for those materials. On time shipping rate, inventory turnover ratio, turn earn index, gross margin, return on investment, days of supply, inventory velocity, return reason, etc. There's a project that we have done for Home Depot. Home Depot for Canada, basically. I think this is a US based firm. It's New York based firm, US based firm, but they also have their office in Canada for them. Right? What is a last mile delivery? There are a lot of deliveries which get returned because of various reasons. Can you upfront predict on which product might get returned? That makes sense. Okay. Nitya says if I am taking full stack data science, full stack data science, you have towards the end an option to choose one of the domain analytics program. You can choose one of those. If you feel this is something which is interesting, probably you might want to choose this. Anyways, yeah, next. What are the various benefits? Right? What are the various areas of supply chain operations that are benefiting from digital technologies? Okay, so here, R&D design, roughly 20 to 30% R&D efficiency. Thanks to simulation-based designs, project portfolio, prioritization analytics, digital threads, so on and so forth. In procurement also you can, not just in R&D, in procurement, you can save 5 to 8% material cost. Right? And then in manufacturing, sure, there is a lot of scope in manufacturing to reduce the cost, 7 to 15%. Thanks to advanced analytics, predictive maintenance, quality improvement, automation, and then your entire supply chain basically, or the core of supply chain. You can maintain your warehouse very lean. Inventory modeling can be done. You can forecast your sales and operations planning. You can come up with digital twin 20 to 30% on time. That's the improvement. Then process automation. 45 to 55% full-time equivalent productivity can be achieved. That means if you have a full-time employee, you'll get some productivity out of that person. 45 to 55%. This is what you might get. Next. Here are the top 3 supply chain trends for driving excellence by 2020. Data visualization, 42%. Increased visibility into supply chain, 41%. Demand sensing, big data supply chain, cloud-based applications, mobility, you name it. Okay, and this is by 2020 what would happen. And this is the kind of demand that you have. Digital supply chain benefits. As part of IR 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0, we have supply chain 4.0. There's a huge potential that can be unlocked in all supply chain categories. When it comes to service, you might have lost certain sales, right? Or you might not have catered to the customer on time with respect to giving service. Transportation costs, warehouse costs, supply chain admin costs, inventory, capital, right? All these things. There's huge scope. In supply chain 2.0, this was a baseline, right? After supply chain 3.0, this is what people have achieved. In 4.0, they've achieved so much. If they can reach these levels, then that would be the visionary. I mean, that company would reach the visionary stage. Okay. And even before we go to how can you or what can you do to accelerate digital transformation within the space of supply chain or otherwise, let us first understand on how do we design the inventory. That's a huge capital, huge capital. When you want to design your network, there are various aspects which have to be considered. If you want to know on, hey, where should my facility be? Where should the facility location be? And how do I design my network within supply chain? Then how do I do it? What are the various drivers? So you have inventory that you need to look at. How much inventory you want to store? You need to look at the transportation. Very easily you should be able to transport. Facilities have to be considered. Okay, and while these are the drivers, what are the efficiency parameters that have to be considered? And what are the responsiveness? Which needs to be looked at. When it comes to inventory, you look at cost of holding. What is the cost of keeping inventory? How much would it cost you? Responsiveness means when someone wants some component, do we have the availability or not? Transportation. Efficiency means how much can you consolidate? Responsiveness, what is the speed at which you can go deliver? Then facilities. Do you want a consolidation or do you want a dedicated facility? Proximity is very important. Flexibility. These are the various aspects. Okay. And finally, you also need to have information. Okay. Which information is very important for you for each of these objectives? Okay, that is the most important component to consider. Next. What is the role of this network design? What is the overall role? Okay, so first thing is, what is the facility rule? What role will your facility play for the network that you're designing? So the key thing that you need to ask here is, what is the rule and what processes would be required? Second, facility location. Where should your facility be? Facilities be rather. Where should facilities be located? Okay, do you see? I mean, you know India map basically, right? If you have your branches, manufacturing plants, okay, spread across the country, then how do you want to have? Do you want to have inventories or the network designed such a way that you believe in having standalone inventories throughout in all these plants? Or do you want to have a centralized inventory from where you want to ship? How do you want to design your network? Hub and spoke or circular, or how do you want? Very important. This depends on what kind of network you use, and all that depends on your objective function. How fast should the equipment reach the manufacturing plant? A machine failed here. Say machine broke down. If you now place an order, how much time would it take? As opposed to that, can I use analytics to upfront predict on which component will fail and then place an order so that I keep all those components in the inventory here? Sure, you can. Then the third thing is capacity allocation. You need not necessarily say that, do you know what, I have 1,000, nuts and bolts, and we have 10 manufacturing plants. 1,000 divided by 10, 100 each you circulate. Not needed. You need to first understand how much capacity is at each facility. Facility need not be mean only inventory, okay? It's an entire thing, including your manufacturing unit, so on and so forth. Okay, then you also need to figure out what is the market in which you want to operate and what is the amount that you want to supply. Market and supply allocation. What markets do you operate in? And which supply sources? There are a lot of things that come into picture when it comes to just coming out with a framework of a network design. Designing your network, supply chain network, is a huge task. So if you want to, simply put, if you want to look at the framework for network design decisions, how do I need to design my network? What are the various things that go into picture? How should the framework look like? You need to look at multiple things. Simply put, there are multiple phases. Number one, of course, phase one. Phase one is called as devising the high level supply chain strategy. During your supply chain strategy, you need to look at what is the competitive strategy. How is the global competition going to look like? Within the company, what are the constraints that we have? Do we have capital constraints? Do we have a growth strategy in the first place, or don't we have any growth strategy itself? Right? What is the existing network? Many challenges exist. Right? Then you move on to phase two. As part of phase two, you have regional facility configuration, in which you look at production technologies. What is the cost? What is the scope impact going to be if I scale, if I increase the number of units that I wish to manufacture? How is it going to impact? What is the kind of support required? What is the flexibility that exists? How does the competitive environment look like? What are the aggregate factors and logistic costs? Okay, what are the tariffs? What are the tax incentives which I get from government? What is the regional demand that I have? Right? Many things come into picture. Then what is the political climate like? What is the exchange rate? What is the demand risk? What if another competitor comes into picture? Many things should be considered. Okay. Then you have phase three. Phase three, what are the desirable sites? For this, you need to look at what are the production methods that we are going to employ? What are the skills needed? Do I get those kind of skills in that location easily? Right? What is the response time for the production? Do I have the available infrastructure? So on and so forth. Desirable sites, available infrastructure has to be evaluated. Then you move on to phase four. As part of phase four, you look at location choices. Here, you look at again factor costs, site specification. Then here you also look at logistics cost, transportation, inventory, coordination. How do I proceed further? All these things. As part of our training, we are going to deep dive into each of these phases. Should we have a distributed network? Should I distribute the network across the country? Or should I have a centralized network? What are the various factors that have to be considered for regional facility? Here is where we will also look at optimization. Right? You will look into some amount of depth when it comes to data optimization here. We'll use MS Excel. Solver is what we are going to use. Capacitated plant location model is something that you're going to evaluate. Right? We will learn about capacitated plant location model. Right? In all these scenarios, we will take a use case and then we are going to solve that use case. And when it comes to the metrics that you will have to understand, we will just briefly look at Amazon balance sheet and then try to look at the various metrics which Amazon looks at. How is the new taxation system impacting? Probably GST in India, how is it impacting? And similar kind of things can be replicated to the other countries also. Okay. Then as part of phase three, you're going to look at a model called as gravity location model. Gravity location model. Okay, we will spend some time. Again, we will resort to Excel solver here. There is some amount of math that we need to understand, which we would anyways understand. Then as part of network choices, we are going to look at network optimization models. Gravity location model, network optimization model, capacity plant model, some amount of data optimization, bunch of things. Okay, so these are the various things that you will do. And of course, we'll look at, single sourcing, multi-sourcing, and various things pertaining to customer requirements, so on and so forth. Then, of course, you are going to finally look at managing the transportation and supply chain. Okay, that is also going to be one big thing. Okay, next. You have to read this. When you find time, read this article from McKinsey. McKinsey digital supply chain. Okay, McKinsey digital supply chain compass. And how they are mapping supply chain 4.0 to the important levers of the company. Please spend time on that and just read it for your own benefit. What can you do to accelerate the digital transformation journey? Three key things. And the first and foremost and the most important thing is skill. This is what is lacking in organizations which are not doing well, of course. World is changing fast. Assess your current role. Would that be even relevant? Can you relate your role to Industry 4.0? Can you relate your role to industrial IoT sensors? Can you relate your role to supply chain 4.0? Logistics 4.0? Can you do it? If you cannot do it, you are clearly outdated. Clearly outdated. No doubt about that. And then, hence, you need to upgrade your skills and then prepare for a new role. There'll be naysayers who will always say, no, it doesn't work. It will take a lot of time. Let it take a lot of time, but keep upskilling yourself. Be in that leadership position, right? Front runner, basically. Next, you need to have the will. You need to have the desire and tenacity to move ahead. Right? Chart a new course for yourself and for your organization. If you are in a leadership position, please do that. As opposed to saying that, no, I believe in outdated ways of handling. Okay, and then velocity. Change usually requires new speed. If you're walking at your own speed pace, competitors won't be good to you. Okay, they won't be lenient. Competitors will come in very hard at you. Okay, and digital life moves faster in high gear. So if you want to do anything related to digital, no slow pace approach. It has to be super duper fast. Okay, that's very important. And of course, there are a few other things that I wish to talk about here, and that will give you a sense. That will give you guys a sense on how people go about designing their network and all that. Let me go here and let me put it here. So first of all, or what is it that you're going to learn? Okay, we are also going to learn as part of supply chain analytics, transportation modes. Within transportation modes, you'll use trucks, truckload, and there is something called as LTL, less than truckload. Rail, air, package carriers, water, pipeline, intermodal. There are a bunch of those things. And depending on the country that you are staying in, you need to look at what percentage of all of these: road, rail, air, etc. Road, rail, air, and water. What percentage of cargo movement happens in your country? That research has to be done by you. And what is the percentage of passenger movement happens via all these four? Why is it important? We'll understand. Okay, with respect to your country, what are the challenges that exist? I'm saying your country because people are joining in from Malaysia also for that reason. Okay, and you need to do a global comparison after that. Then you also have something called as intermodal. If you use more than one mode of transportation, it is called as intermodal. Maybe you will first fly the shipment from USA into India, and then from India you will resort to road route or rail route to deliver the goods. Okay. Then you look at inventory aggregation. How are you going to aggregate? What are the costs? Okay, and here you look at a lot of things such as what do you mean by distribution center? How many locations do I need to have? How many suppliers exist? What do you mean by cross docking? Right? So all those things, we look at a lot of math calculations to decide, you know, trade-offs. What is the trade-off between transportation cost and responsiveness? People will say, hey, I want this to be delivered in 30 minutes. Sure, I can, but what is the cost associated with this kind of aggressive delivery targets? Would it be okay to deliver within 30 minutes? What kind of products would you deliver? Okay. There is also something called as Clark and Wright algorithm, saving matrix method that we are going to look at. How do you build the vehicle routes and schedules is something that you're going to look at. How do you sequence the customers? Which customer are you going to deliver first? After that, to which customer would you deliver? What is the sequence of delivery? Okay. And then we are going to look at models. We are going to model discrete events basically. We will discuss about something called as logit model. A lot of you all must be aware of this, but how do we use this logit model on the data which follows something called as Gumbel distribution? Wow, what a learning it would be. It'll be an amazing learning. Okay, then we would be to some extent using solver in Excel, and if need be, we will also be using something called as Excel miner and a tool called as R. Of course, we can do it in R and Python also. So we will briefly look at R and Python. Then what are the various supply chain coordination issues? There is an effect which is called as bullwhip effect. You learn about this. You learn about supply chain coordination. At different stages, what will be the demand? How do you come up with continuous replenishment programs? How do you come up with vendor managed inventory? Right? How do you do a collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment? What are the steps included in that? Safety of the inventory. What are the different levels of safety? Here also we are going to use basically again mathematical algorithm. We look at product fill rate, order fill rate, replenishment cycle. For level of safety also we are going to look at certain calculations once again. Okay, so all these and many more basically is what we are going to learn. And there are other things also, such as what is the role of IoT sensors in terms of inventory management? One big thing that you have to understand, and we are going to understand that. And with respect to projects, we will understand about e-commerce from e-commerce perspective. Supply chain is not just physical, right? You should not always think about the traditional way of marketing, because after you get the raw material, after you make it, after you deliver that, right, and before you deliver, and after your product is manufactured and while it's laying in inventory, the marketing which happens can be traditional marketing, or it can be digital marketing. How is that going to impact? Okay, how is mobile marketing going to impact your business? These things are needed. Why? Because we need to do a holistic analysis of supply chain, entire end to end. Then, of course, we are also going to make use of a tool called as Tableau for a brief descriptive analytics on a specific case. Okay. Then there is a specific game that we are going to play. Okay. This is, of course, I'll see whether we can procure that access or not, on how to get that access, etc. If we get access, nothing like that. Otherwise, let's see. Okay. And then uh, we look at various team related strategies to ensure that you break the barrier and get your digital implementations fast tracked. Okay, these are the various things that we are looking at, and certainly very futuristic would be drone delivery services. And drone delivery services, once they become a reality in, of course, in the developed countries such as US, then it will slowly percolate, find its way to all the other countries. And if you are futuristic in terms of considering that if we have certain drones, certain drone driven technologies to deliver the products, then how much would it cost us? And how do I design my entire supply chain network? Okay. And next step to this is people are doing something called as eye tracking. If you enter a specific store, what are the products on which you are laying your eye on? Based on that, probably if you're spending a lot of time, you know, looking at that, and if it caught your attention, why not do a promotion on mobile? Why not do a promotion online? Right? These are all supply chain breakthroughs which are happening. Would it cost? Yes. All these technologies will be costing you. But if you build it at scale, it will be amazing. And finally, we'll be touching upon how blockchain is impacting the entire supply chain ecosystem. blockchain and chatbots. There are a lot of companies which are already, started selling the supply chain analytics toolkit. For that case, we also have SaaS, but SaaS has lost its charm. Still, you can explore it. A few of the companies are using it. Okay, so I would stop here and I would look at your questions first. Yeah. Can you explain the measures how to reduce procurement or sourcing costs? Yeah, we'll discuss, Abdul, as part of the supply chain training if you were to enroll, right? Then use cases will be solved using Excel solver or also with R and Python. You're going to use R. You're also going to use Excel. We are also going to use Tableau. JD, three things. Any questions? Okay. So just give me a minute while we let you know on how this is going to proceed further. Just give me a minute. Mm, Python, we won't, basically, briefly, we'll touch upon that. You don't need in-depth knowledge of programming. Whatever I'm going to explain with respect to that particular concept, only to that extent it is good enough, JD. Or we can arrange a session for you, shouldn't be a problem. You have to do a secondary research, Harish, or you have to enroll for some IoT training, obviously, to understand what are the various IoT sensors, what kind of data they capture, etc. Any other questions? Yeah, it would certainly help you. It would certainly. Just a moment, sorry. Okay, yes. So, yeah, it will be beneficial, Abdul Razak. Then mentoring session will be available not from supply chain and all that. If you have any problem with respect to your uh, programming, etc., yep, certainly there'll be mentoring sessions. If you have anything specific to discuss, we can discuss. Placement support, we have tie up with 150 plus companies, and whenever there are job openings, they notify us, and majority of the openings, job opportunities get filled through internal referral. So from that perspective, you can be rest assured that you will get some interview calls. Session timing will be the same. It will be from 5:30 to 7:30 IST, and that would be uh, 8 to 10, right? Yeah, 8 to 10 Malaysia time, approximately. Okay, so you all be now, you all will be receiving uh, 8 to 10 Malaysia time. You all will be receiving a coupon code on your group, WhatsApp group. There will be a specific discount If you want to claim it, you need to claim it within the next 30 days only for supply chain analytics. And that coupon code will be active only for 24 hours. Copy and paste and save it somewhere. Yeah. Where are you from, Jaydeep? If you are from India, obviously India, right? Until unless you have a visa, etc. But if you have enrolled for this program, you will receive it. Separately, will be sharing with you. If I enroll for this program, see, job assistance is a default thing that we provide. It's a service that we provide. So you'll get that. Are you from Malaysia, Abdul? Okay, Jaydeep. Then it'll be in India. Until unless you say that, hey, I have a visa for this country, can I get an opportunity? Then we might help you out if you have connects there. Okay, okay, fine. But if you have enrolled for the professional program, then there will anyways be job assistance there, right? Shouldn't be a problem. You'll be getting on your WhatsApp. Since you enroll with us, your details would be there with us. All right, friends. Thank you so much. And we shall again connect. Good night. Thank you all. Sure, Abdul, you can enroll for this as well. No problem at all. Sure. Yep. Thank you all, guys. Bye.